just mic'd up with Mikey Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up, and he might have knocked it in.
Good time, dude. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys would come in and say,
oh, God. So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there, he's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Chico can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad doing 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Chico can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Good show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Look at
Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now. Hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Wednesday, December 4th. I have a big day for you today. It's my puppy dog day. It was a bad day. Weather was kind of, So, I'm trying to bring up the personality in this room. A lot of people, personalities was in the toilet yesterday.
Good day. It was a good book.
It was a rapid fire of bad news. If you're an LSU baseball, LSU football fan. I mean, it was a semi-automatic just, damn. We lost everybody. This is not good. We talked on Monday at length about how awesome it's going to be to see C.J. Daniels come back to LSU and be that veteran receiver because we kind of feel like we got shortchanged off him this year. We ain't going to see that anymore. He's in the portal. I think that has more to do with
unless he's renegotiating.
Unless he's renegotiating. And let me just look. Our GM, LSU, the owner, our GM, we're in a room just like the Giants owner and GM and said, hey, you know what? If he wants to test the market, we owe it to them to go test the market. And if we can't match, hopefully he can tell us what he gets and we can match it and he can come back. Maybe that's what he's doing. Or maybe he put his name in the portal when his boy, who he played with at Liberty last year, put his name in the portal and said, you know what? This guy threw me 11 touchdowns and over 1,200 yards receiving with this guy as a quarterback. I think I'm going to follow him and I'm going to go play wherever he's going and we'll go from there. Maybe that was the case. Who knows? Womack changed. Let me ask y'all this before we really get into the rest of these Heineken headlines. Out of all the guys that have transferred so far that have come out, were there, outside of C.J. Daniels, too, that we just talked about, because I think that was a surprise, were there any other surprises to you so far? As far as the transfers? Like Jordan Allen, not a surprise, right?
No,
Womack,
you don't not travel if you have turf toe.
right. Deshaun Womack, not a surprise, right? He wasn't even part of the team basically the last 3 weeks. You have Ibieta, obviously not a surprise. You had, I think, a couple other guys.
Ricky Collins, not a surprise.
Ricky Collins, not a surprise. So outside of,
I mean, you could basically go up and down the roster and say, how much did he play? This might be one.
right,
And a few of them
Toviano
ended up being that.
Toviano's probably gonna be gone. Oh, yeah, he's gone. Did he go?
No, he didn't go. No.
Toviano may be gone. But like outside of C.J. Daniels, not a lot of surprises in the portal. It just kind of all happened at once. Cade Phillips switched his commitment to Texas. And I'm talking to people. I went to the basketball game yesterday. I'm talking to people walking in.
Great game.
And great game. The Tigers they lost one of their best players 90 seconds into the game. And still won by 10. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. But, the conversations where, man, I'm hearing all these things about maybe some other players that maybe should leave or going to leave, maybe put their name in the portal. Who knows? But they finished the recruiting class this year so far, right, with 24 signees. A lot of those signees will be early enrollees at LSU in the spring after January. Even with some of the big losses, Underwood, Cade Phillips, they lost Meadows to Alabama. Even with those losses, LSU still ends up with a top 10 recruiting class. Going to continue to get better. They have a war chest a little bit bigger than they had last year in the transfer portal. Seems like they have a plan when it comes to the recruiting / portal season, right? They had a plan. They're executing their plan. They had numbers in mind of where they would go up to and a max they would pay. And it seems like that's the strategy they are going to use. Whether that's the right strategy or wrong strategy, that is TBD, right? We'll see what happens in the portal. We'll see what the team looks like, and we'll see what they look like next year. But the guys that we do have signed, I think you have 3 freshmen for sure that you probably are going to be able to play pretty early on. DJ Pickett, day one, is going to be holding down a corner position. Like that is...
I think it's pretty safe to say he'll be on the field.
Yeah. Whether he starts the first game of the season, who knows? But he's going to be on the field.
Whether he's starting, whether he's actually on the outside, we don't know.
But he's on the field.
I got to imagine he's on the field.
On the field.
Healthy and all that, I got to imagine he's on the field.
No doubt. And a couple offensive linemen feel like they could probably slide in and be in there. I know Brian Kelly is very high on the offensive lineman. If there's one position group that Brian Kelly has shown through the course of his career that he's a very good evaluator at and recruiter of, it's the offensive line / tight end position, right? At Notre Dame, they always had a solid offensive line, always had a good tight end. You have really good offensive line coach. You're bringing in a lot of offensive line talent. You're going to have to replace some of the talent that you're losing this next year in Will Campbell. So we shall see. But the guys that you have, I feel like you're going to have a lot of impact players. The defense is loaded in this recruiting class. You bring in 4 linebackers, all very highly touted. You bring in 4 really highly touted secondary guys, 2 cornerbacks, the top 2 safeties in Louisiana. You're bringing in a bunch of interior defensive line. I think one thing that you probably can look for in the portal, edge rushers, right? Maybe a veteran offensive lineman, probably a veteran wide receiver. And if you want to go, he says they're going to try to add about, 12 guys in the portal. You would think that they would maybe try to add a veteran cornerback / safety to put into as a depth piece and be able to help some of these young guys get acclimated. We shall see how it pans out, but they obviously have a strategy. They're following through with their strategy, and we'll continue to talk about that throughout the course of the show. What?
You can't say following through yet.
I mean, it seems like, that's, what do you mean following through? They are following through with their strategy based off of what he said and what the guys that are signing and the money that they're not going up to. Like, they obviously, that's part of their strategy.
Yeah.
They're losing probably, the price went up on some guys higher than they may have thought it was going to go up on them, and in turn made them lose a couple recruits.
For the strategy to be followed through, in my mind, you would have to hit in the portal. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. But, it seems like they have the strategy for the portal. We'll see what happens in the portal. Yeah, right. As of now, they're following through with it, but
part 1's done.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have a break in the dam.
The last few years we've gotten to this point, man, and I can't – for the work you have to put in as a coach, as a coaching staff, as a support staff, throughout the season, throughout the year, to get all the way up to, culminating to these couple days where you get to signing day, right? And then you sign these kids and you get them here. And then to think that realistically it's not done. You can't – the recruiting of those kids is not over. To me, that is – it is so crazy to think that at any day, any one of those kids can literally up and walk into the office and say, yeah, I don't think this is me. I'm out now. I want to leave. And I think that has to do with a lot of why you're seeing these guys that have been not lifetime, but long time head coaches saying, hey, bro, I'm good. I'm not doing this no more.
It drove Saban out the sport.
It drove Saban out the sport. It took Chip Kelly to take a demotion. It took Gus Malzahn to say, I'm not doing this. It's crazy to see that.
It's a wild deal.
And it used to never be this way, but it's very obvious. There's more security, not so much in job, but not so much job security, but so much as for your actual operations. There's more security at this time in the NFL than there is in college. And it's crazy.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Because you sign contracts where you're legally bound to be, hey, this is your job. It's just it is a free-for-all, right? There's no rules, there's no regulations. Anybody can do everything, which is a wild time to be. We'll see what happens in April when Congress convenes and comes out with some sort of decision, hopefully, about the future of NIL, because at the end of the day, NIL is name, image, and likeness. This is pay for play. I think everybody understands that.
This is free agency.
This ain't NIL.
This is free agency with no cap.
Yeah, right. It's a pay for play. Hey, we want you. We're going to pay. We're going to make sure we have the most money to get you on campus, and you come to campus, and hopefully we can develop you and you're good.
Or
we lose the money and you're not good, and now you transfer somewhere else because you're not playing and you get paid again.
And that money's down the toilet.
Yep. And so that sounds like a great idea for the player. The player has all the power right now. Schools are at the mercy of the players. There's going to have to be some level playing field. Obviously, you have all these people talking about, all these coaches are complaining about this NIL stuff, and they can leave a job to get a higher paying job at a different school that has maybe a little bit better. All right, I understand that. This is a little different than that.
They can, right? But there's a little bit of parameters to it. But look. Yeah, what drove this thing to where it is how the coaches were able to move freely. But when you squeeze the tube and you lost the cap, this thing you can't. It's hard to stuff this one back into.
Literally lost the cap.
Yeah, lost it. Not like it's on the ground. I just don't feel like picking it up.
There's no cap.
I don't know where that shit's at. It might be behind the toilet. They actually
fumbled and then dropped it and stepped on the tube. Yeah. And so now it just squirted out and really can't put it in. Yeah, smeared up on the ground.
It's crazy.
So we'll see what happens. Obviously, they're going to try their best to try to reel it back in as much as they can. Who knows what's going to happen? But we're going to talk about needs, talk about what the class looks like, how it's shaped up, who we're excited to see, who we're not excited to see. Yes, you look like you're inquisitive with the look.
Yeah, do you think that because of the pending I guess, ruling from what Congress, like that's coming in next year.
It's in April.
April.
But
It'll apply to
think.
next.
It could be,
it'll apply to like the next recruiting class. Obviously, it doesn't apply to this.
Oh,
one.
I don't think they're going to retroact it.
Right, exactly.
Right? Like
So-
they can't talk about a shit show.
Yeah.
Hey, all of you people.
let
who
me
just,
see the books.
Yeah, all of you people who just signed here, and this is all the money they promised you. No, this ruling, we're going to go back to the beginning of this year.
Actually, Jackson
So
Arnold's
actually,
not here anymore.
You're going to have to give your money back, and we're going to have to redo this. Like, that's obviously can't happen. So what they're going to do is say, okay, hey, listen, from here on.
Spent that, dog.
Good job, guys. Y'all did good. Y'all took advantage of the system. We've kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Now moving forward, this is the rules. I think that's kind of how it would be. We'll see what that looks like.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because if that is the case, then do you see that that's why Brian Kelly is spending this way, where it's going to be 1 to 2 year players that don't really fall under the guidelines of what you would have to abide by, like recently. Like, let's spend all of this money.
No, I don't think that's the specific reason why he's doing that, because that's something you can't predict. You don't know. You know what I mean? That's like recruiting, right? Like, you could, the whole way from now until April, they can say, oh, this is how we're going to vote, this is how we're going to vote, and it looks like, oh, it's going to go our way. And then the day before, somebody calls them or they go have drinks with somebody else on the other side, and they say, and they flip the vote, and now all of a sudden it doesn't go the way they think it's going to go. And now, damn, I did 6 months of this prepping for this, and now it goes the opposite. It's too hard to predict.
We spoke about this earlier. I think too, like that's what's happening is the schools with the quote unquote bigger budgets are kind of sitting back in the wings, and they're doing their due diligence. They're doing everything they need to do previously. At the 11th hour, they're saying, "What are you getting?
Yeah,
we got more." And they're literally trumping whatever was given and whatever work that was done by just offering a significant amount more for enough for the player or the person or the family or however you want to look at it to say, we don't want to pass that up. And I'm imagining part of what they do in terms of how they're recruiting is finding out what the dollar means to you, how much a dollar means to you, how much are you willing to move for? Because when they come back in and they're offering this more, they're not trying to over-offer as well in those spots.
Yeah, and look, it's not every player, right? And I'm sure that LSU and other schools have gone to most of the recruiting class, and they've had conversations and they've re-upped it. But like Brian Kelly mentioned this in his press conference, 90% of their signees had been signed for over a year, or had been committed for a year, right? Or at least since the spring. And he goes that we lost a few, but it wasn't the majority of our class that we had gotten signed stayed with us, right? And so, I think that's around the country. You're going to lose some of your big guys who is about money, but that's the world we live in right now. And hopefully at some point it can kind of get a little bit cleared up. But to continue through the Heineken headlines, obviously Wednesday, so it's Ask Mikey and Mitch Wednesday. We'll not have a show on Friday this week, so get your questions in and hang out with us for as long as you can hang out with us tonight. LSU basketball, we mentioned it and touched on it a little earlier. Big win at home. I believe they are now, 8-1? Lloyd, do you know? Mm-hmm. I think they're 8-1. Florida State was 8-1 coming in last night. LSU played really well, right? They did the same thing they've been doing. You got it.
Finally. This has been 3 weeks coming.
You've been working hard.
I might eat him.
Is that the only one you think?
I think it's just this one guy.
Well, he's been living on your stuff for 3 weeks.
That's like feels like the episode of Breaking Bad.
You murdered him.
And when it's just him and the fly, he's like, I can't get any work done because I got to contaminate.
Speaking of murder, no, we're not talking about that.
Maybe it's mistake of the day.
I don't know if that's. I mean, that's a pretty messed up deal. That's like a movie in real life, right? Like.
Yeah, one girl definitely had a movie in real life.
Yeah, she's gonna be scarred for life. That's tough. That's
Honey,
no joking matter. I'm not joking about it. Like it's an awful situation.
Honey, you won't believe what I saw today.
Yeah, awful situation.
I don't even know if you go about finishing the day at that point, right? Like I don't think that person.
It was like 6 a.m.
That's like leaving a hotel. I think you either go right back in the room or you find a different hotel. I'm not sure she went to work that day.
No, I think that's. Let me go Google best psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Around
now.
Let me go walk into that room right
now. I don't live here, but I need to see one before I leave
session.
here. Yeah.
Bars open near me.
Yeah. Now maybe she's worried that this guy he thinks that maybe she saw him and.
Not even the guy, like whoever. That's a tough place. That's a tough spot to be.
Tough spot. Anyway, that's not the point of this conversation. Obviously. LSU basketball.
Bunch of hired guns out there.
Yeah, that's it. LSU basketball wins last night. That is their third. I believe that's their fourth game against a Power 5 conference opponent. Obviously, up at Kansas State on the road, beats Kansas State. On the road, on a neutral site against University of Central Florida, they beat them in 3 overtimes. Neutral site against Pittsburgh. Obviously, Pittsburgh gives them their only loss of the year. And then at home against Florida State, who had 1 loss coming into the year. Basketball team looks like they're playing a lot better than they have been. They've progressed every year. They play like 10 guys. I went to the game. Like I've been watching them on TV, but I went to them in person. They rotate 10 guys in that starting or in the lineup, and that's more than Matt McMahon's ever been able to do before here at LSU. Obviously, Jalen Reed goes down like 2 minutes into the game, so big loss there. We don't know really what happened. Matt McMahon after the game said it was a sprained knee. They're going to do more testing today, but have not heard anything that came from that. Tell you what, dude. Soak the Shockers, son. Victorious Miller. Baller.
Doing it.
Ain't scared. Their center is about 7 feet.
Tried to dunk on.
No, he just kept shooting in his face and his grill. Top of the key, dude. Twice. And, he almost, I think he puts up about 16. Cam Miller put up about 26. They're a pretty good team. They're fun to watch. They got 2 or 3 big dudes on the bench. They're not going to be big scorers, but they're great at the rim. So second half kind of took control of the game, ended up winning the game by 10 points. Very entertaining brand of basketball. So if you haven't been out to watch them yet, I suggest that you try to go and do it because it's worth your time. Last but not least, college football playoff pretty much been finalized for the most part. Rankings came out, a lot of drama, a lot of upset people. Alabama feels like they are being force-fed to everybody that they need to make the playoffs. And Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin aren't happy. South Carolina and Shane Beamer aren't happy. Miami is technically rated ahead of – is it Alabama or behind Alabama? No. Who's Miami ranked in front of? Why is everybody's up in arms about Miami, correct?
They're up in arms because I think Miami is the 12th, though, right now, right?
I think they're the 12th seed.
No, they're out.
I thought Alabama was the
being
11th.
the 12th seed, they would be out. Because I don't think the group of 5 team is Boise's there, but Arizona State's not. Arizona State's out of the top 12.
So that's why they're – so basically they are out because Arizona State's in the conference championship right now.
Yeah, so they're assuming that Arizona State wins. Who's Arizona State playing?
Iowa State.
Iowa State.
That's right.
Who is out at this point, unless they win that game.
Unless they win that game.
Yeah.
Whoever wins that game's in, whoever loses that game's out.
Right.
Georgia, obviously, I think ranked 6th. Texas ranked 2nd. Tennessee is just hovering right there around 8.
Those 3 are pretty much in.
Yeah, they're in.
They're in. They're locks.
They're in.
They're locks.
Alabama would be the other one if they get in. But a lot of people are not happy with that. You felt like they were setting this thing up whenever Alabama got boat raced by Oklahoma, who got boat raced by LSU the next week. When they beat Alabama with 23-3 and Alabama moved down 1 spot. You felt like once that happened, oh boy, Alabama, barring a upset against Auburn, which they tried to.
Right.
They're going to be
How do you
in the
feel about
playoff.
that? How do you feel about them being in that spot?
Alabama?
Yeah.
Honestly,
for you, what marks these?
I don't think they should be in the spot.
What do you value more? Really good wins or really good losses? Or really bad losses? I should say.
That's the conversation that y'all are having. I didn't jump into it. Now I'm gonna jump into it. What do I value more? I value, obviously big wins are awesome, right? But I value, damn, if you had some bad losses, I put more stock into that for this reason, right? Because if you are one of the top 12 teams in the country, right, you should be able to, the big games against good teams, and you played them really well and they were tight and you lost at the end of the game, all right, because they're a really good team and that team beat you, didn't come through with that. Or you beat it and you came up to it and you beat them, that's fine. But teams that aren't as good as you are not ranked, and the quote-unquote bad losses, top 12 teams in the country should be able to win those games, right? I guess if you slip up once, okay. But if you have a couple of them or you look sloppy playing all those teams, in my mind, it's a bad look. You're not a top 12 team in the country. That's kind of why.
So I'll give it this. Here's what I do believe too. I understand that side of it, but I see a side that says, first off,
like Notre Dame's lost to NIU, like that one to me is bad. Like that's the only loss they have, so I get it. Like they didn't lose again, but if they lost again, I think that loss would have knocked them out of the playoffs.
It would, but now let me ask you this, because this is kind of where I'm going with this question. How good do you think they actually are? Like, who did they play, or what have they done that made you say?
And that's the other conversation.
So, okay, so then to me, when I look at it is, I don't think the playoffs is a time for guessing if you're good or good enough or not to be in it.
Agree.
And so for me, the measure of a good team is, especially when it comes to those games where they're all primetime games, they're all eyes on, they're all center stage. I need to know that the teams that are in that situation have beaten teams in that situation.
Very well.
And for me, when I look at like Alabama, like it's not I like Alabama or I have an Alabama fondness or whatever, but when I think about it is, if we're switching coaches and I got a brand new coach, man, you'd be hard-pressed. I don't give a damn how well the machine ran. There's different terminology. There is different ways of leading. There's a lot of different stuff going on and a lot of different voices in the building. It's hard as hell to get that same consistency out of that group of players and or what is not that group of players, because you forget, like that same team, that same program lost the SEC Freshman of the Year, he gone. They lost with the kid that was going to be the starting center on the team, he gone. Like, you lose those guys, yeah, I think you do drop a little, and you do maybe lose some consistency a little. But with what is the current top 25, they have a better record than teams than Miami. And so if that's the case, which we all sit here and say, man, Miami's good as hell on offense, but everybody they play, you wouldn't be shocked at all if they beat them 52-48. Are you sure that that's the best team? Because let's just say if somebody shuts that offense down a little bit, are they still giving up that 48? Because we know that defense ain't great.
Yeah.
So for me, when I look at it and we get to what is supposed to be prime time, best teams out there, I need to know. I don't want to be putting a team where I'm still trying to figure out, are you that good? Because you ain't beat nobody like that.
Right.
And that's how I kind of look at it.
No, look, I completely understand. Like, and I'm not saying
no. You can have your opinion. I'm just saying that's how.
And look,
I
you're
look
not
at it.
wrong.
How do you feel about it, Lloyd?
I think the whole thing's kind of pretty much broken. I'm looking up the principles of the criteria in which
they're not clear on it. That's the issue.
They have written down.
I don't think you can be though, because it's all judgment.
So I'm about to read it to you.
Out of the 3 lost teams,
the selection committee will select the teams using a process that distinguishes among otherwise comparable teams by considering conference championships won, that does distinguish past or present or if you're in a championship game, strength of schedule, head-to-head competition, comparative outcomes of common opponents without incenting margin of victory, so it doesn't matter how much you win by, and this is the kicker, other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players and coaches that may have affected a team's performance during the season
They had to add that
or
one in
likely
there.
will affect its postseason performance.
They had to add that one in there because of the Florida State clause.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, I don't even know. Like, none of those things are definitive.
Right. And that's the issue with the whole system.
Well,
Right?
but I think it has to be that, though. And that's why I still want to know, like, what you think. Because if we're asking for judging, like, that's what you're going to get. Like, that's why the NFL model is the way it is, hey, these division champions get in and then the best record after that. Because we're not about to do the judging game because there's so much parity going on. But if there's going to be parity and there's going to be judging, you're going to leave discrepancies out there. That's just going to happen.
No doubt. No,
but there's just, because the NFL, we're taught to think all of these teams, there's so much parity that it doesn't matter which division.
Even if there is or isn't, it's still, there's no judging.
But the difference with the NFL, there's only 32 teams and they're professional teams.
That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah,
like, the parity is real as far as the college football playoff and what you're deciding from. I think everybody's common sense tells you that Ole Miss is probably better than Boise State.
Got a chance.
Miami's probably better than Arizona State. Like you just start playing the probably game.
I wouldn't be so sure about the Miami thing. Miami hasn't really impressed me much.
I know, but how much have you watched of Arizona State? Like when you start,
Yeah, but like, Cal almost beat Miami.
Yeah,
Miami's
gotten almost beat by like 4 times. Like, and they got 2 already. So like,
and then they got smoked by Georgia Tech.
Okay, I'll say South Carolina then.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. So like, look, South Carolina to me, I'm looking at the 3 SEC teams with 3 losses that all have a case to kind of get in there, right? Alabama is the one right now that everybody wants that's in.
Yeah.
All right. Alabama lost to
Oklahoma.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the. Hold on.
Oklahoma.
So yeah, they lose to
Tennessee,
Oklahoma, right? They beat
Vanderbilt.
Georgia, which is obviously what's kind of putting them on this pedestal, right? They beat Georgia.
Alabama, you talking about?
Yeah.
Ole Miss beat Georgia.
How many?
That's what I'm getting. Let me get there.
South Carolina has how many losses?
3 losses.
Alabama has
3 losses. Okay, so I'm about to. That's what I'm getting at. Let me tell you.
I really don't think there's anywhere to go because there's one big one in there that we're missing.
Yeah, I know, because Alabama beat them.
Right. Like,
No,
to
I
me,
understand
like,
that.
There's not much where to.
By 2 points. And
Doesn't matter.
that's what I know.
That's a
That's
win.
where that's where the head-to-head goes.
That's in the criteria too.
That's what I mean. That's where the head-to-head goes. So I'm just throwing this out there, right? And this is why they all have a case in there, right? They beat Georgia, lose to Vandy, which Vandy was obviously scrappy, but that's not a game that you want to lose, right? They lose to Tennessee. Tennessee's in there, right? And then they get boat raced by Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma has a good defense. I don't think that's as bad of a loss as Ole Miss's loss at home to Kentucky, right? So if you're going to say Oklahoma's a bad loss for Alabama, and you say, okay, that's Alabama's worst loss, Ole Miss's worst loss is Kentucky. I think the Oklahoma is better than Kentucky, so that's a worse loss for Ole Miss than Alabama, right? Ole Miss now has a loss at LSU, which, if you look at it, they lost, but they maybe felt like they should have won that game. Tough place to play. And then they lose to Alabama, right? So Alabama obviously has got the leg up on them.
On whom?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss and Alabama. haven't
South
played.
Carolina. South
Yeah.
Carolina. That's what I mean. South
And a
Carolina.
1-point game.
South Carolina, 2-point game.
2-point game.
I understand, but they beat them.
Yeah.
That's my point. I squeezed in Ole Miss's record in there. I got tripped up a little bit there. But South Carolina's 3 losses, or Ole Miss's 3 losses, were to they beat South Carolina. That was the point. They had beaten South Carolina. Their worst loss was to Kentucky. Alabama's worst loss was Oklahoma. Alabama trumps them because Alabama, has better. Their loss isn't as bad as Ole Miss's. And then South Carolina lost to LSU, which they should have won. Lost to Alabama by 2 points, which you felt like they probably should have won that game. And then lost to boat raced A&M and beat Clemson, right? But then lost to Ole Miss. Got boat raced by Ole Miss.
And this is for me.
So that's what makes it hard because they each.
But it makes
the
it hard.
head-to-head that puts Ole Miss ahead of them and puts Alabama ahead of Ole Miss. That's why.
Right. And that's why I think that's why I get it. You want to see more wins than losses on teams that are in there. But for me, that's why you can't go off of just the losses because, like you said, if I'm going to look at South Carolina, well, if Alabama's placed at that 11 spot, which is really the 12 spot or however you want to look at it because we don't have the Group of 5 team in there yet, they have no argument when it comes to Alabama because you got beat by them.
Right.
But if you beat them, you got one more win than them. And
Right.
you got one more quality win.
Right.
So for me, that's why those big games, when you're playing those type of teams,
Matters.
why they matter to me. Because I feel like if I know you go in these situations, I don't give a damn if you played well in it. If you win them, you have something to talk about. If you lose them, it don't matter if it's by 50 or by 2. You lost them. You're out in those situations. I'm not saying you can go ahead and just put aside the games that are against lesser opponents. I think you need to win those too. I do, 100%. But in the case that you don't, I don't think the losses like that should trump the kind of wins that you have when they come against quality opponents.
I think their argument is not that, they need to be in over Alabama or need to be in over whoever. I think it's, hey, we need to be in over Miami or in over some of these other schools but they're not going to put 6 SEC teams in there.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So and that's why you got
unless 6 SEC teams have 2 losses, which is never going to happen.
It's not going to happen. That's why you got to win those big ones. Yep. Yep.
So
it's crazy how there's. I knew there would be more absolute mayhem when it came to this year because of this.
This is your resume, your ranked team resume from 15-1. So it gets your wins.
Why is it an old school?
I got this from Todd McShay. This is like the branding that he does. Pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So there's your strength of schedule right there.
So Notre Dame Army, like that, whatever. That doesn't count.
I mean, there's 3 teams on here with
Indiana, none.
with,
SMU,
with
none.
ranked wins.
Miami, none.
3 teams with 3 ranked wins.
Texas,
Nobody else
none.
has gotten there. It's hard to leave those teams out.
Yeah. Damn, you forget Texas doesn't have any.
None. 0.
Look at Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
That's why Alabama probably gets the nod in this situation. You have 3 top 25
and
wins.
that's what I'm saying. That's the big part about
But
it. When you
in
look
my
at it.
mind, I don't know if Missouri is a top 25 team.
They were when they played them. They're throwing it up there as for when they played them.
Right.
And Missouri's right out. They're right outside of it right now.
yeah.
Yeah, I still don't think,
No, they're a top 25 team right now. When they did the
I'm
rankings,
just I'm saying I think they're overranked in my mind. But
Yeah,
it
maybe.
doesn't matter. Semantics.
We can't do that because then we'll go down. That's
That's what we're
crazy
doing with
rabbit
all
hole.
of this.
Damn, Jalen Reed suffered an ACL tear.
Did he?
Yeah.
It was a knee sprain diagnosed in the tunnel.
Well, that's what they said.
Of
He
course.
did it just to say, like, we're not sure. Damn, that sucks.
Breaking.
Breaking. Well, it's not break. I mean, they broke it. Damn, that sucks.
Well, that's a good way to get back to LSU.
Yeah. Yeah, look, there's no perfect system for the playoff. We knew that. People were gonna be upset. I don't think anybody could have ever anticipated that college football was gonna be as wacky as it was this year and have as many teams kind of in that same situation as they have, but I think they mostly got it right. Like, do I think that the SEC is the best conference and they've been the most battle tested and those guys could go out there, South Carolina, Ole Miss could go out there and beat any of those teams in there at any given day? Sure. But they didn't beat them when they needed to beat them, and it matters.
And it matters. It rains. And
matters.
I think people have brought this up too.
It matters who you play and who you beat.
If I told you right now it was going to be Miami playing Alabama next week, who's favored?
Alabama. Right.
Not saying that should be the judging point. I'm not at all. And I'm not saying that Miami couldn't beat them. But who's favored? Probably Alabama.
I would say without a doubt Alabama.
Right.
Honestly, no, Miami would probably be favored against South Carolina.
I think that one would be
I don't
really
know.
close.
That would be
really
pretty close. Maybe
yeah.
a pick 'em.
I think that'd be really
I think
close.
Ole Miss would be favored against, especially right now.
Yeah.
Based off of how Miami played against Georgia Tech, who played a good defense and kind of got physical with them, because that's the difference, right? The SEC is a lot more physical of a conference than the ACC and the Big 12 and those teams, right? The Big 10, they're pretty physical up top, but when you get below the top 5 teams in that conference, it significantly drops off. I think the SEC proved, Arkansas proved that they can beat anybody.
Right.
Auburn proved that they can beat anybody when they beat A&M. Right. A&M proved they could beat anybody. LSU is someone that you don't want to worry, that you can't just take for granted. Kentucky beat Ole Miss. Right. Vanderbilt beat Alabama.
Oklahoma boat raced
Oklahoma
Alabama.
beat Alabama.
And LSU boat raced Oklahoma.
That's my point. It's just it's a different makeup of conference, and I don't think anybody can argue with that. But at the end of the day, the conference has to have some sort of cannibalism, because if not, there'll be 7 SEC teams in the top 20, top 15.
You play
top 12.
You can't, if you go back and what we put up there, for someone like Texas, how they came in. I'm not saying they gave them a favorable. The schedule worked out the way it worked out, but they don't have a single ranked win on that resume. You can't do that it's not even possible to do that to play the SEC schedule and let's say 5 SEC teams roll out like that. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to have these big clashes and these big matchups. So for it to happen that way, it's just not going to happen where SEC teams run into it that way.
Yeah. No. I'm reading these tweets. I love the day after signing day, and once you get these new crops recruits, it reminds me of draft day in professional baseball, where you're playing and the draft's going on while you're going. Well, now it's in the All-Star break, but it used to go on when the season was going on, and you see who they're drafting high up in the draft. Damn, are they going to draft a high school kid?
Right.
Or they draft a college kid? Damn, you drafted a college kid. Damn, you drafted a college outfielder? I better pick my shit up fuck that guy. You know, like whatever, right? You kind of get this extra motivation. So I like watching, like reading tweets and like seeing what some of these players saying. Juwan Johnson comes out and says, "Never play with your food." Hashtag it's personal. Hashtag let's work. Right? Everybody got a little bit of a extra little juice after signing day. You got a little motivation.
Well, yeah, it's like.
And here's the deal. Here's the deal. We're gonna go right into this football conversation. You have some talent at the wide receiver spot. A lot of unproven talent. Obviously, if Chris Hilton comes back, you got Aaron Anderson and you got Xavier Thomas, right? You got Kyle Parker, who they liked. You got hurt. He comes back. Juwan Johnson, who's tweeting right now, maybe they transition him into that. Maybe now you have another. You turn him into a playmaker at that wide receiver position. Who knows? But offensively, if you're on the offensive side and you're a skill position on the offensive side, you should be pretty excited for having an opportunity to get on the field next year. I think that they brought in two wide receivers. I think both are pretty solid. Phillip Wright and Teron Johnson, I think, is the two receivers they brought in. Both are pretty highly touted. Both are extremely talented. So they add to the wide receiver room, but you still don't have any proven guys. Who are they going to go after in the portal? I'd imagine you go get one of those guys. They really hammered the defensive side in this early signing period. They signed 24 players. Half of them are on the defense, you think? Well, we could count it. But, that's a lot, right? Half your class is on the defensive side.
I think our producer's a mute today.
No, I'm looking it up. I was seeing if I could sort it by offense and defense.
You guys got the scroll working on the computer.
I do. So 23 commits doesn't do it by offense.
You got, Breaker, Mathis, Brown, Weeks, Shanklin, Ross, Battle, Bradford, Pickett is 8. Jim Coyley is 10. Keelan Moses is 11. Zion Williams, 12. That's at least 12 on the defensive side of the football, right? You bring in 4 linebackers. You bring in a lot of defensive linemen. But like you said, Lloyd, I think edge rusher is the one that they're probably going to have to go out and try to get some help with, right? You're losing 2 good ones in the draft.
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
yeah,
15 on the defensive side. They
Yeah.
signed 26,
25,
23,
24,
23 as of now. I'm looking right at it.
Oh,
So
24.
that would be 8 offensive guys, 15, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And most of those offensive, outside of the 2 wide receivers and the 2 running backs, 4 offensive linemen.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You're starting to see how Brian Kelly is building this football team.
Which
you're going to be very good on defense, at least for the future. What you're bringing in is to be very good on defense and be able to run the football.
Here's my question. Why do you think he's building it that way? You got another one. Told you there are going to be more coming out.
I know. Multiple like bunnies. What was your question?
Why do you think he's structuring it that way? Why do you think? I know why I think. I don't know the answer, but I know why I think.
Well, I think it's because you recruited the state of Louisiana and you took the best players there, and they happen to be on the defensive side of the ball. But also, philosophically, what he's always done is been able to get offensive linemen. And I think college football is changing a little bit. Also, it depends on what they want, how they want to use the quarterback position.
Feels like, for me, I agree. It feels like why I think he's doing that. One, the hardest position to get out of the portal is offensive linemen and defensive linemen, right? Either one, the top ones are super, super expensive, or there's just not enough quality of those guys in the portal, right? So you got to be able to go out and recruit that well out of high school, develop that, create that type of, I guess, talent and homegrown talent up front. Skill position players, I think they feel like they can go out and maybe get a couple of those veteran skill position players and put them back in there. There's more of those guys out there. I'm not saying that's the right strategy. That's what I feel like is why they're kind of focusing on that. Plus, the defensive side is true. Get that better and solid, and you figure out the offensive side, especially if you have Nuss coming back.
I think personally, I think you do it because that is a spot. It's not that it's the hardest, but usually you need more than one, right? And the dollar amount that's I guess allocated to those positions, it's not the highest,
Right.
but it is pretty high. And if we need more than one, that price tag gets pretty high. I think the hardest position to get out of the portal is the one that there's only one on the field of, which is the quarterback position.
Right.
Because that amount's high, and they all want to play, and they all need to play, and they all need to be good, right? So I think that's the hardest one, but I do think, hey, if we're going to try to spend our time building a line or building both lines out of the portal, you're going to outprice yourself right there because that's really tough to do.
Right.
So the best way to do it is to go and grow and develop some of these kids out of the recruiting class or out of the high school ranks, if you should.
Yeah, because that's the foundation of your offense and defense. Is the front, the front line, like the offensive line, defense line. That is the foundation of it.
Every good team is built, and it's not the sexiest thing,
especially in the SEC.
But in any world of football, if you have a good offensive line and a good defensive line, you can compete with anybody.
100%.
And also, I think the reason that LSU is building this way, or at least this recruiting class is built this way, is because look at who you have recruiting those positions.
Right.
Frank Wilson recruiting Louisiana running backs, and certainly New Orleans, where you get Tarlin Berry from, and then Alexandria is a place I'm from, and LSU means a lot.
Hotbed.
Recently, I don't think they've ever had two Elliott kids on the team at once. Now you got Jacobian Guillory and JT Lindsey, but like you heard everything that JT Lindsey said, it's not lip service. Like kids from Alexandria, they all go to LSU regardless. But if you could play there, it's a make a wish. It's a bucket list item. So that's why he never wavered in his recruitment. Harlan Berry, Texas tried to come in and do exactly what they did for the quarterback position. They came in at the stroke of midnight and tried to offer Harlan Berry more money. He's like, cuz I'm set.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm not taking. Doesn't matter. And so that's
his dad's got a great name, Harry Berry.
Harry Berry. But that's like the you can say Jakeem Stewart if you want with like Frank Wilson, but that's his recruiting room.
I'm okay. Look, if he's not gonna go to LSU, go across the country where I don't have to play you.
Well, and
go to USC.
Go play your.
You know what I mean?
That's literally treated like free agency.
Yeah, go over there.
Or like not free agents, like trading players.
Ain't going to our division.
Can't trade you in our conference, cuz.
Yeah. Hey, you go out there, it's fine.
We may see you once in your career, maybe twice.
Yeah, go and look great. As long as you ain't, I don't.
You can't be terrorizing not only us but everybody else in this.
Same with Underwood.
Yeah,
go up there.
Well, yeah. The only thing with Underwood is the only time you will see him is in probably a very important game.
No doubt. Which I hope happens.
I don't.
I do.
I don't want to see him.
I do.
It gets eliminated.
I hope, you can't be scared of that. I hope that happens.
I think he's going to be really good.
Okay, maybe.
But I don't know if Michigan's going to be really good. But I think he's going to be really good. But that's another reason why.
Listen, a lot of people came in supposed to be really good. You know, I don't think he's going to be bad. But I would want to play him. Fuck it.
I mean, he's going to an offense that I guess
not great.
They threw for 70 yards against Ohio State.
That's another point of my thing. You don't know how good he's going to be, at least in college. J.J. McCarthy wasn't that good in college.
You're still not. I mean, you don't know.
J.J. McCarthy got the draft grade that he got because of his cerebralness and the way he was able to go through these meetings
and they won.
And test. And they won. Right? And a lot of that had to do with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And their defense and the way they play that, right? Like, he's a quarterback whisperer.
I wouldn't say, yeah. So, like, the J.J. McCarthy thing is weird. I think the way they ran the program at that point, which is a lot of what you're seeing what Jim Harbaugh is doing 100%. In NFL football right now. Nobody can sit here and say that, physically and the ability to throw the ball that Justin Herbert isn't that good, but the numbers don't jump.
Right.
I think J.J. McCarthy was the same thing. So it's like, I'm not sitting here saying that I think the world of him. I think there's still a whole lot out to debate. But my point is that was how they ran it. Now, if they choose to run it the same way to where the quarterback isn't the focal point and they're not trying to run up those numbers, if you're only asked to do it a certain amount of times a game and you still do it, hat tip. My point is the talent is obviously off the charts. That's why he is touted the way he's touted. So even if he goes into a system where, hey, we're still not going to ask you to be, the best thing walking or best thing since sliced bread walking around here, that doesn't mean that you can't be impact at that position still,
right?
If that means.
No, 100%, right? And I think when I say Jim Harbaugh, you saw J.J. McCarthy develop year after year after year after year as a quarterback, right? And I think that had a lot to do with Jim Harbaugh. Michigan's offense this year was trying to run similar to the offense they ran when he was there. It didn't really work out because you don't have Jim Harbaugh developing the quarterback position anymore. So we'll see. I mean, I think he's going to be good. I'm not saying he's
No,
not.
I'm not. I'm just about to, I guess, somewhat breaking. You talked about Jim Harbaugh being the quarterback developer, whisperer, when you've seen that on all accounts, even in the NFL ranks. Michigan just fired their offensive coordinator, Kurt Campbell, who was offensive analyst, 2023 quarterbacks coach, and was given the title of developer. And then OC quarterbacks coach this year, he has officially been fired after 1 year. So Michigan will be going in a different direction with Bryce Underwood. And
You'd imagine they told him that.
But I
right?
have to imagine that's not.
oh
something
no,
that-
the next thing I'm going to say is what I want your opinion on is: do you think Joe Sloan is on their radar?
That would be a.
That's interesting.
Because of the relationship, I'm sure Bryce Underwood has, as much as you paid him, I'm sure he has a little bit of say.
Yeah, maybe.
That one would hurt LSU in the sense of that's what they went in the move they made, and they said we'll pay him because it would make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
It would. It really would.
And the temperature around Joe Sloan at LSU is not the best right now, like just because of the way the fan base is, very reactionary. And I would say the offense did get better the last couple of weeks. It was his first year calling plays in a major conference.
I'll sit here and say this. I don't even think the temperature would come into effect in this situation. I think if you are the Michigan powers to be and you see that a first-year offensive coordinator with a first-year quarterback also has now the third best passing yards or passing stats in that school's history ever, only behind their two latest Heisman winners, and he's actually second in the league in touchdowns thrown, and you say, hey, he's been the focal point and the reason as to why Bryce was committed here for as long as he was.
That's the kicker.
Let's go ahead and bring him up here because obviously he knows what he's doing. I think something like the LSU fan base and where that temperature is, I think wouldn't even factor into it if they're able to quote unquote pay it and he sees that as something I would imagine that's at worst somewhat attractive to him.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the reason I mentioned the temperature, not only the fan base, the way that Brian Kelly spoke about him whenever he was brought up in pressers after the 3 straight losses, didn't seem like they had the warmest relationship. So this would be an easy way for Brian Kelly to cut ties and be able to get the guy that he's always wanted, which I'm sure will also be controversial. But he's been rumored and wanted to hire Tommy Rees, who is available.
Yeah, I don't.
It makes it an amicable split for LSU to where they didn't.
No, listen. If Joe Sloan left, people wouldn't be even worried about it.
That's what I'm saying. It's not the.
It almost
it's
be
not
a
Joe
win-win.
Brady
It'd almost be a
going-
win-win situation.
That's what I'm saying. They would paint it as a win-win in Brian Kelly's mind because, like, I didn't make him
Yeah.
leave. Like, he took an opportunity.
Let me ask.
Like, what do you?
I'll be honest with you. To me, that honestly would be a big mistake if you let him go and you. And,
I agree
And
with-
the go would be to that spot because let's just say in a world where let's say there's just one team that finds their way. Let's just say I don't know, maybe to the semifinals, maybe to the finals this year. But if Notre Dame's able to do that, and you sit there and say, well, we let one offensive coordinator walk, and he went up there and turned them into a semifinal team when they haven't been able to do it in forever. Now we're going to let the next one walk, and who knows what he's going to turn out to do with the number one quarterback in the nation that was committed here. It'll be a really bad look, and I think at that point, the fan base and the powers to be here would have to look at themselves and say, hey, how are we really running this thing, and how are we really doing this? Because we keep pushing out people that are going to be successful everywhere else. And that wouldn't be a good look at that point.
No, I'm with you. I don't think it'd be good. It wouldn't be a win. It would not, in my mind, be a win.
No, I don't want
But
Sloan to leave.
I think people would look at it because they're not real logical in some of these situations, and they would look at that as, that's a win-win. Like, it's fine. We'll go get somebody else. Like, nah, now you got a whole new system. Now it's a lot. The offseason changes at that point. Now it's a lot more learning.
It also may
it's a
change
lot more
with the quarterback you have.
Right.
It would make
doubt.
Garrett
He's
Nussmeier.
got time to make a decision right now. We're not playing January football as like that's not where you're at. You're not playing meaningful January football. You're gonna be playing in a bowl game. If you make that decision, he could be making a decision to say, "Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
No thanks."
Let me ask you this.
If I'm going to go learn a new system, might as well do it in the NFL.
Might as well go get paid a lot more to do it.
Right.
In a draft class that doesn't have.
I might as well go get closer to getting to that second contract.
Yeah, no doubt. Before we get to the
so if you let Sloan leave,
you can't let him. I mean,
if they offer money, I don't know if LSU's in the position to match or raise. I don't know if that's because I don't think, like I said, this is just me speculating. I don't think Brian Kelly would be twisting your arm like we have to keep
I get
him.
it.
And then that would lead to another domino falling of Garrett Nussmeier might be able to walk, and then you look at the.
What about Colin Hurley?
And then I was about to say, you look at Colin Hurley, and you go, well, that's who recruited me. And then you look at, you don't have any quarterbacks on the roster.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Swan, no offense.
So we'll see. Hopefully that does not happen.
That one completion for 8 yards looked good.
Yeah. He didn't have it not.
No, it was a while ago.
It was early in the season.
Yeah. Non-con.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a out route.
Got him.
Yep. Before we get to
hit that third
to
step,
ask Mikey and Mitch, let me ask y'all's opinion on this. What? No, ask Mike. We didn't really promote it, huh?
Yeah, but we'll see if we can get some questions.
Yeah, we don't
boys, fire in the chat some Ask Mikey.
If you want us to answer it, but let me ask y'all this: what's y'all's opinion and y'all's take? Right, Brian Kelly had his presser, said a bunch of things. Right, a lot of people love to hate Brian Kelly. Whatever he says is going to be scrutinized because he just doesn't come off as a lovable guy. Whether you like him, don't like him, he's always going to get scrutinized. He's always going to get criticized, and he's going to have a target on his back. Right, so he comes out and says things, right? And part of what he said was recruiting is no longer about the right fit or wanting to be there. It's about how much money they're going to get. It's unfortunate, but it's the world that we live in, right? Now people are saying he sounded off. He's complaining. He's bitching, but he's not the only coach ever to say that, right? Like Saban said it. Lane Kiffin said it. All these other coaches have said it, and they've been praised because of that and stepping up and saying, oh, this needs to change. But he says it, and all of a sudden he's getting criticized, and he's bitching, and he's complaining because he lost some recruits. What's y'all's take on that?
I think, you got to think about it. How much did Les Miles get scrutinized and criticized here? How much did Coach O outside of 2019?
Right.
Now, obviously, he wasn't here as the head coach for long, but how much did he get criticized and talked about?
And that was the hardest, and that was one person that they didn't want to do it.
Right.
And they still did it.
So my point is, I still think the mindset of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the LSU faithful is chasing so hard Nick Saban because we saw what we did, that until that is produced and then you're back here the next year continuing to produce that, I don't think it matters who you are and what you're doing. People are going to look at you that way.
Well, right, but I'm saying this is more of a national narrative, right? Like a lot of these national publications are kind of getting his quotes and talking about it. It's a sounding board. It's a talking point. I get it. But do you have a problem with what he said?
No, I think he said the quiet thing out loud that a lot of people have spoken on.
And people have talked about it.
Yeah, when Nick Saban did it, it was, oh, man.
That's my point. That's my point.
I think the thing about it is the timing of it. So you got to remember when Nick Saban did it, it was literally right after the season, literally right when that's done, not right after.
He lost 2 big recruits.
Big recruits or right before or right after signing day.
Right.
I think it's the timing of when he said it that people are saying that, as opposed to just, hey, I'm coming out and saying this because I'm sure that's how he thought about it, but the timing of it, I think is what's.
And I think if you look at I'm not defending him. We're having a conversation. If you look at the quote and you don't listen to the context, you don't listen to him say it, the quote is, oh, he's just complaining because he lost some big recruits and it was signing day, and he had a potential number 1 class in the country. Now he's a number 9 class. All those kind of things, right?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying it's pretty apparent as to why he lost the recruiting.
Right,
battles that
it's
he did.
very obvious. There's no other reason other than the fact that they got more money, right? And he's mentioned both those guys loved LSU more than anything. They wanted to be here more than anything. It just financially could not match what they got, right? So that is the reason why they went. But if you listen to how he said it and how the context of the conversation, the press conference, to me it didn't sound like bitching. It just sounded, hey, this is the state of college football. Adapt or die, right? Or figure out a system and stick to the system and hope that you're able to develop and get the right players you bring and hit, right? And so I have no problem with what he said and even how he said it. I don't take it as, oh, I'm complaining about it. I think he's just taking it as, hey, matter of fact, this is the state of the college football.
Well, I think there's never really been a positive thing written about Brian Kelly nationally, which is he's a very easy punching bag because
100%.
he is probably the most maligned head coach in college football, where nobody looks at him and goes, oh, let me put a positive spin on this. And I think Brian Kelly knows that. I don't think he cares.
Nope, right. Which I respect that.
Yeah, but in the same breath, I will say I think the way that it maybe has come off locally or in Louisiana is he's going around and passing the hat, going, we don't have enough money. We need y'all to give money. We need, he's asking the public. And whenever you make $100 million guaranteed, it kind of looks a little bit.
Well, I know, but that's not his fault.
I know, but
hey, look, I promise you, Brian Kelly could drop $2 million a year and he would do it.
He can.
No, you can't. Coaches cannot do that. No.
Coaches cannot do that, and people making.
Coaches can't do that.
I mean, let's be honest.
How? Why?
They can't do that.
Why? There's no rules.
First off, time out, Lloyd.
Ain't no rules.
I think you'd be pretty stupid to sign. I think you'd be pretty stupid to sign a $10 million contract and just say I'm gonna take $8 million a year, and then get hit with the taxes on top of that. So 8 ain't really the 8. Nobody's doing that.
Nobody's doing that.
No, zero people are doing that. So that money's never going to be coming out of his pocket. Let's just go ahead and make that clear. For anybody who doesn't, or anybody who's thinking that, the people that are paying this, the people that are donating into this, their income that year is a lot more than that amount. It is what it is.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think people are you're asking me, who makes 60, you make, like I make 60 grand a year. And
I don't think he's necessarily talking to 60 grand.
He's talking to everybody.
Yeah, but like
that's what I'm saying. There's like
he's not expecting the 60 grand a year. Hey,
but
I need you to put a paycheck in there a year. Like, no.
But I think that was as some of the narrative around it is like, damn, dude, you asking me for money? Like, you got yours. I know, but no, that's what I'm saying. And then it becomes, where is, if you're asking me to help, and I don't know if you, like, on top of everything that I already give to LSU, and then it becomes now we have to pay for recruits, and people are willing to, but you still can't compete with the big time.
No.
You can't, like I said.
Well, we know that's the conversation we get. It's a beating a dead horse. Like we all know that.
It's comparing it. It's Major League Baseball. There's no salary cap. There's nothing you can do about it. It's the Yankees and the Dodgers. Look at Oregon's recruiting class. That they flipped 2 5-stars today, like a quarterback out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then they got a 5-star corner out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so that's like, oh, we'll pay you. And look at what Texas is doing. Like, there's teams that are just could pay for play.
I understand.
And so I understand why he's upset, but I think that's why it came
But he's
off.
not the only one that's come out and said that, right? He's not the only coach out there that said, hey, we're going to have to go and it's going to be a collective effort because we don't have the funds and we don't have the people that are doing it. But we don't have 4 people that are just donating us millions and millions of dollars a year. It's got to be more of a collective effort. Well, there's been other schools that have done that, right? And it's just he gets crushed because nobody likes him.
Well, not only that, I think it's because of he's talking out of both sides of his mouth within a year of we're going to build this through recruiting.
Well, he's trying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're going to build it through recruiting, and now it's like we're going to build it through the transfer
portal.
portal.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
I think they did build it through recruiting, and
he's going to sprinkle on top of the portal. He's like, hey, we're going to have to go get some of these guys in the portal. Regardless if those 2 guys come or not, they're going after the portal guys.
Right, and this is not a sprinkle effort in the portal. This is a full-out effort in the transfer portal to go get stars, to go get guys that are going to make immediate impact on your team.
But
that was not what he was doing earlier. There was no – he said it himself. He said, look, we were not very aggressive. We came in below budget last year.
I know
That's what I'm saying, because he was – the way that he wanted to build his team is like we're focused on guys that aren't interested in playing for pay-for-play. We're focused on building recruiting. Now it's like, fuck recruiting.
Well, no, that's not why he
but
said
it's changed the narrative of
yeah,
what he
because
wants.
he has all these funds that he didn't have to spend on these big recruits.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So now you're going to allocate those to somebody else.
It makes it seem like he doesn't know what he's doing.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with it,
Lloyd, if you have a full plan
that's
in
a
place,
life, bro. If you have to adapt to fucking
you have a
shit
full
that goes
plan
on,
in place,
dude.
and you have a budget set to
seen it coming.
No,
you can't see that shit coming, dude. Are you fucking kidding me?
Time out. Even if you saw it coming, you don't have it. What could you have done? You have these kids. You've talked to them. You've gotten the face-to-face, the eye-to-eye, the all the verification, the validation that you can get up until signing day. They've had all of that. And then now, in the 11th hour, someone offers more. They flip. Then you have to adapt and adjust. There's nothing else that you can do in those situations.
You can't go re-recruit anybody.
Here's the question. What would you rather? That to happen, or for you to never have taken a shot at Bryce Underwood? For you to never have taken a shot at Cade Phillips? And now you sit here and say, so wait, this kid was interested and y'all never talked to him? That would be the narrative at that point. Right?
Well, that's what I'm wondering is that's going to be the approach now, to where you don't go after.
No, you can't.
Because think about all the guys they brought in their building. Like that whole defense is being built through the recruiting.
No, I'm saying I wonder if they're out on the number 1 player in Texas, the number 1 national recruit. Because
no. You have to do it. They're still going to be in those situations because they're not always going to flip. Here's the problem.
They're not always going to flip.
They're not always going to flip. And it doesn't matter if it's the money or if they start finding more money, however it goes, they're not always going to flip. The thing that happens is like we've joked about the last couple weeks on here, whoever's going to come through the portal, I get it that they didn't just make up their mind a day ago and say, I'm going to hop in the portal, but you're not saying I'm going to give you all this money in week 3 just because they're sitting at 2nd or 3rd on the depth chart or not getting the playing time they want. Because in week 4, if that person in front of them goes down with an injury, guess who's probably now playing? And then all of a sudden, if he likes it and he does well, you're shit out of luck in that situation. So you're always going to pivot to the portal.
Yeah.
You can't live in the portal. You're going to pivot to the portal. And that's exactly what they're having to do at a higher rate than what they thought they were going to have to be doing.
I don't think they're ever going to – he's saying I'm building through the portal. It's like, hey, this is what we're doing. We had this recruiting class. We lost 3 guys that we really wanted, right? They didn't come to school. So now we were already going to go to the portal. Our idea in the portal hasn't really changed other than the fact that, okay, we got a little extra money to go out there, so maybe we're going to go get a couple extra guys in the portal because of what happened in the recruiting process. They still want to build through the recruiting process. That's the best way to do it, right? And he's building his defense through the recruiting process. Like this is a – now if they don't develop these guys, the whole staff's gone. If they do develop them, this is going to be a cornerstone of this defense. This is going to get the defense back in the right direction. You know, if you develop these guys, and now you have the guys from last year, you're mixing in some upperclassmen, and you're bringing in this talented group of freshmen on the defense side, this is how you set yourself up defensively for year after year after year after year. DJ Pickett said, he goes, I only think it takes 1 year. You go out there and you do it for 1 year, it flips the thing around, right? And so I think that's how they're doing it. I get what you're saying. And I understand you can look at it that way. I don't see it.
Here's the thing. When you have that job, I won't say that job, the coaching job, really, that college is right now, you better grow some real thick skin, and all these guys do have it. You got to grow some real thick skin and some real understanding that this kid that basically said they loved you and that they love everything about what you're doing might flip at the last minute. Because if you show, I guess, for lack of a better word, if you show that you don't like malice towards those kids, well, then the next is going to think that that's all you think about. So you have to be able to understand that I'm doing all of this work, and at the end of the day, it still may not matter. Mm-hmm. That's a real tough pill to swallow for anyone in that situation. I'm putting all this time in, and at the end of the day, whatever was said, whatever was done, whatever was offered, still may not matter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the business is at this point. That's the same situation as seeing Nick Saban love on and still talk glowingly about Aaron Anderson. It's what it is. Because at the end of the day, you never know who might be flipping to you, much less who just flipped from you. Right. So you can't go talking and acting bad in these situations. You still have to recruit it. You still have to build that way. And you still got to understand, I might lose them.
Yeah.
I might lose them. You don't think the kids, if the Oklahoma head coach, if Brett Venables sits there and says, you know what, I'm going to go talk terribly about Jackson Arnold right now, that ain't going to help him get more players. That ain't going to help him sign more players.
Damn, you're fucking crushing your guy.
But you don't think he did everything he could to keep that kid on the field, to try to develop him and like him where he's at?
Tell you what,
started 10 games this year.
They spent a lot of money on Jackson Arnold, gave up a guy that should have been their starting quarterback on the number 1 team in the country.
Who might win the Heisman.
For a 5-star, right, who's the number 1, number 2 player in the country in that position, and he didn't really pan out.
Yeah. I'm sure they're salty, but that is the business these days. No doubt. It's a very tough dynamic. But like we alluded to earlier, that's why a lot of these coaches is like, let me just call plays, bro.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yep.
I'm not tasked with keeping these guys. Let me just call plays.
Well, let's see how this thing unfolds over the next 2 months, 3 months.
Oh, absolutely. Because that's what I'm saying, is the way that they went about the portal last year, whereas he said they didn't want to spend a lot of money in the portal, and he did the price matching that he's doing now in recruiting. He's flipped that to now I'm going to be very aggressive.
Well,
in the
because
portal.
I think he's got more funds now.
Because
he knew what he had in the recruiting, because he knew what he had in the recruiting cycle for coming in this year. So he's like, all right, we are going to go out and we're going to try to be economical in the portal, and we're going to take those funds that we're saving, and we're going to go allot it to the guys that we got in our recruiting class, because we have a number 1 quarterback in the country, number 1 player in the country. Potentially a generational quarterback coming that we're going to have to spend money on. He wants to be here. We're trying to rebuild our secondary, all these types of things. Well, then you get to the last signing day, and you get towards maybe the back half of the season, you start to hear some rumors And so this money starts to get thrown around, and those guys are no longer there. So that money that you save to go to them has to go somewhere. And so now it's too late to go out and recruit.
Not
Most
even
of those
just
guys
saving
are gone.
You got to think about it like the collective. They go out and they do all of this work.
Because this is how much it's going to cost for our recruiting
This
class.
is how much it's going to cost. So they've acquired the money, or they've gotten promises for that amount of money. Now they're reallocating it. This is basically what's going to have to happen at this point.
Right. And look, if they could say, oh, damn, we missed these guys. They have a whole nother crop of guys, same type as talented, that we can go and sign before February. I'm sure they would go try to do that. They don't have that.
There's probably guys that they had tabbed as on that transfer portal board, or however you want to look at it, as out of their price range, that may now have crept back into their price range because of the money that got freed up.
Yep.
My only other question would be, why are you so confident that you'll be able to outspend anybody in the portal if you couldn't outspend them in recruiting? What's going to stop somebody if there's a player?
You're probably going to lose. You probably are going to lose some.
Well, there's a PR game that you have to play, right? Like, you got to say it that way too, because you're also still trying to convince the players. Like, those players see everything. Those kids see everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're sitting here not very sure about what you got coming in, if I'm a transfer guy who's looking for greener pastures, looking for obviously a chance to win and a chance to play and a chance to get paid, I'm probably not looking at the coach that doesn't sound too sure about what the outlook of next year looks like, what the outlook of what we're putting together looks like. So you have to play that PR battle too as well. Like, that's part of the game as well. Can't go out there and talk like, man, we just got beat here, and it might happen again, because the kid that you're recruiting is going to be like, well, shit, why on earth am I going to go there?
I'm not saying what he's saying publicly. I'm saying what's going to happen privately.
No, listen. You may lose a couple guys. You may get outbid by some guys.
You saved your bottom line again for what?
No, you're not gonna go. It's not gonna be like it was last year. Like, you're gonna get guys that you need to get. You may have a list of 20 guys, and you want to bring in 12 or 13. You may get the 12 or 13, but instead of getting the top 12, you may get the top 15. Right? You go 3 more above it. You're still gonna have guys. That's what happens everywhere. Right? Like, that's the reality of what NFL is in free agency. That's the reality of what college is. Every college doesn't get every player. You're gonna have to they're not gonna get everybody they want 1 through 25 on their board. They're gonna lose guys, but they have backup plans and they have a strategic plan to go after get it. I mean, you have to believe that's what they're doing. All right, they're not just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks. Like, they have a plan towards what they're trying to do.
If we're having this conversation here and not one of us has a single day in those rooms and in those meetings and in those conversations, for people that have years of experience in it, getting paid a lot of money to do it, you have to believe that these conversations have happened before.
Right,
No.
and he had the same conversations last year. I'm just wondering.
But I disagree with you.
No, I'm going to say what he did in recruiting this year is what he did in the portal last year. It's like, there's a number, we're not going over it, and now he's saying there's a chance that they will go over it. Like, I'm just wondering
if whatever. So let's just throw it out.
It's
there.
not
Like,
a perfect science.
No, it's not.
Things change. So you have to adapt with what the market's doing.
Things are going to change. You got to adapt to what the market's doing. I'm sure as this NIL thing has come about, there's been more and more money that's been put into it. There's been more and more people that are amounts of money that have gone into it. But you got to think back. Like, I'll throw this one at you. You remember when Bryce Harper and Manny Machado were on the verge of being unrestricted free agents, and all of a sudden that year, not a damn team went out and signed anybody? Remember that? Mm-hmm. What do you think that they were doing? Hey, bro, we're trying to be in on the Bryce Harper sweepstakes.
Or we're trying to keep the market down.
We're trying to be in on the Manny Machado sweepstakes. So to keep the market down, we're not going to pay these guys this year, and also we're saving some money. That way we know we are in the ballpark, because this number is going to be higher than anything it had ever been before.
And then what happened?
I think that's what's going on.
What happened the next year? They had signed 4 guys to these outrageous contracts
that we never seen before.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going on here. We're getting to the point of NIL before they try to curtail this thing where shit's happening at a number that we've never seen before and that we probably never thought it was going to get to. And that's why I think there's such a craze on the other side of it in terms of the legislation side, where they're like, this has to happen quick because these numbers are getting crazy.
I do wonder also if it's been easier to negotiate because of the way that you have to do it through the portal, like we've talked about, where tampering is very real. If you've already kind of agreed to a number with somebody and it's already done, so you've already allocated that money to where you don't have to compete. You've already gotten a deal done with somebody. But when you do the backroom deals, you don't know what's behind the other door.
Yeah, you
either.
can't.
Yeah,
It's
I think-
impossible to have.
But
Yeah,
I think
I
they've
think-
been in negotiations where it's been probably easier to do this than it was in recruiting.
Yeah, I think what happens is when it comes to the collective and or collecting however much they're going to try to get, I think that is a never-ending cycle because you don't know how much you need. So maybe you did have a backroom deal. Maybe you did try to stay to that number, but you can't stop trying to put more into the pot, if that makes any sense, because you just don't know who's going to try to come in on top of you and actually trump you. You don't know who's going to sign, who's not going to sign. You just don't know. So I think you do try to stick to numbers, understanding that I would love to not go over this. I would love to not break that. We may have to if we can get it, if we have that number.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I don't think that their intent was going in. Hey, we're going to go and put all of our money in the portal. I think the intent was, hey, this is the money that we have allotted for the recruiting class. We're going to go try to sprinkle some more stuff on the portal. Oh, fuck, recruiting class didn't go as we expected. We thought we were going to have a top 3 class. It, got outbid because of what we said that we were going to do. Now that money that we had allocated to them, we're going to go, and now we're going to have to go bring in new talent, and that's in the portal. So, I don't think they're just, to me, they're adapting to the situation at hand, in my mind. So we'll see. We'll see what they do in the portal. That's what Ole Miss did last year. Ole Miss spent all that money on the defensive line in the portal, right? We'll see.
And they had a great one. They still lost 3 games.
They still lost 3 games. No doubt. Ohio State, $20 million on that roster. They don't look like a $20 million team, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
What do you think Ole Miss paid for Walter Nolan?
I have no clue.
Walter Nolan probably wishes he was in the market right now than he was compared to last year.
Just like everybody. Just
Yep.
like we wish we were in this market
No
as
doubt.
well.
Do you know how much he paid?
No, it said he signed a deal with the Grove Collective, but they don't have a number. I'm sure somebody from Ole Miss knows the number, but that's what I'm saying. If that's the type of talent you're going after, it's going to come at a $2 million price tag.
And then I'm sure they'd be willing to pay it right now with the money they got.
And that's why I bring it up, because you had the opportunity with Jakeem Stewart to pay $2 million, but you're going to save it for
a more experienced player.
Right.
Fine.
That may be a more immediate impact.
Yep, fine.
Yeah.
Remember, the Jakeem Stewart kid has played how many
11
games? In his high school career.
And
his
he could
football life.
And he may be a freak show, right?
He may turn out to be Javon Curse. Who knows? But is he going to help this team win 10 or 11 next year? Are you betting on that? I wouldn't. It's just me. I wouldn't.
Well,
he may be great.
Yeah, but that's why it begs the question of who's going to be in the portal that's a game-changing type player.
We don't know.
That's what I'm saying. So you might be caught with your dick in your hand over here with this money and be like, we can't.
No.
They're not
But
leaving.
that's not the point, because you still have to try to allocate it towards who you think will.
Yeah, you can
that's
be
the point.
caught with your dick. Oh, USC can be caught in their dick with the dick in their hand, saying, "Hell, man, we pay this guy $2 million a year for 4 years, and he had 11 games because he's supposed to be a freak show. Man, he can't. He hasn't got on the field yet his freshman year because he really hasn't developed because he hasn't played. So next year we're ready for him to go. It's like, damn, man, he's not really as good as we thought, or something else could happen, and now they're caught with their dick in their hand.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it could happen both ways.
He may be the kid you need to go grab if you're at USC. And at LSU, you may be looking at it like, man, I might not be here in 4 years if I don't get to winning right now. So who can I get to help me win now? I might have to overpay for that guy. He may be the guy that we overvalue because I need to win now.
Right. And that goes back to saying, you're talking about the value of these guys, right? It's like I lost my train of thought. So I can't get there.
Go back to the value of the guys in the portal and in recruiting.
Yeah. I forgot where I was going. It was a good point too. God damn
bet.
it. It was. It was like
That's just what I wonder, because you didn't want to overpay for the defensive tackles in the portal last year because you're like, we're not paying $1 million.
And I don't know, and that's fine. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. So for me, they're willing to say, I'm gonna spend more money. We have more money. I'm gonna spend more money on a guy. I'm not gonna offer Jakeem Stewart $2 million, like I was saying, because he's a high school guy. He hasn't really proven himself yet in college. I'd rather go spend that extra $500,000 $1 million on a guy who was all conference or did something at another school, right? Like, I can see them going that route. and saying that guy's worth more money because that, in that case, NIL says sort of. You've actually proven it on the field. I'm still paying you to play, but I've seen it at a high level.
Right.
So, I don't know. Listen, NIL is such a dynamic conversation. It's going to continue to be a dynamic conversation until really probably for the rest of college football days, right? Even when they do change it, because there's going to be a conversation. There's always going to be a conversation about it. I'm glad we have it because it makes our show go to 7:23 and feels like we've been here for 2 minutes. So, yeah. But that's all I got to say about that. I mean, there's really nothing else we can say about it. Like, let's hold out judgment for what happens at the end of this recruiting class. Not high school, when the portal and high school classes all put together, what is the team going to look like? All right, we're not going to do Ask Mikey and Mitch today. We're just going to go straight to the Seggies. So we can get out of here by 7:30 for the peeps. Lloyd, what are you doing over there?
I'm looking at last year's transfer portal and just seeing what names are in there that you hope to get, like that caliber of player that gets in the portal. Just a matter of what they do when they get here, which is why you have to trust your coaches to develop. But you have coaches that can do that.
And you have coaches that can do it. Now, the other conversation is you didn't really have that defensively last year.
Yeah.
Until after that, all that stuff was done. All right. Mistake of the day?
I think we already talked about it. No.
Bro, I mean, are you going to do that one?
No.
Brought to you by our
that's a
friends
tragedy.
at
But I think it's deeper than that. I think this was a deep state issue with what his
Oh,
profession
dude, that was a hit.
Yeah, somebody wanted him gone. Healthcare, crazy. Don't have it right now. Speaking of the government, Dozy Place, mistake of the day. Your government at work. An investigation uncovers a 12-person orgy at the VA and one of the officials who banged 32 female coworkers. So,
Jesus Christ.
What?
Several top veteran affairs officials in Tennessee resigned as an internal investigation in a broader congressional probe into alleged sexual misconduct intensified. Congressional investigators discovered that one man who resigned, whose name that they would not tell, but sources familiar with the sources familiar say was a bargaining unit biomedical employee, had dozens of sexual relationships with women who worked at the Mountain Home VA Medical Center in Tennessee. In fact, the congressional investigators told Breitbart News that this one man slept with no fewer than 32 different women who worked there, and the man and several of the women bragged about their exploits on an online group forum on a government communication portal that the VA officials use. So they told on themselves.
Oh my God.
What's more, sources familiar with the congressional investigation say they uncovered that an orgy of at least 12 officials who work at the facility took place. It's unclear at this time whether the orgy on government property happened at the VA or off-site, but the mere fact of a dozen government workers employed there did this is astounding.
How do you even find this?
It's the news, baby.
Wow.
Yeah, like what was your process to finding that bit of information?
The Twitter For You page. It knows where I like it. Knows
Boy, that's wild.
That's,
knows
that's
I like,
on your For You page?
It knows I
Oh
like
my
a good,
goodness.
I
You
love a
are,
good theory.
Once again, diabolical. That's
Wild.
crazy.
That is a huge mistake.
That's crazy work on you.
That's a crazy situation that's unfolding right there.
I mean, good for that guy.
Yeah.
Nobody was
Had a
complaining
good time.
about him.
No.
Just word got
Crazy.
out because we're bragging on the forum.
Yeah, we just told ourselves it's not
Yeah.
good.
You want to meet up again?
Yeah.
12?
All right.
Giving that girl a run for her money that trying to sleep with 100 people in a day.
Oh, the spring break person? What are you talking about?
No, there's just some girl that's trying to sleep. You haven't seen this either?
Uh-uh.
She's putting out open applications to
What are you
sleep
doing?
for, like, she's trying to bang 100 people in a day.
Wow.
And so she's sending out open
that's
applications.
what a feat that is.
A lot of feet.
Good. Yeah.
200 feet.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe.
Craig, yeah. Curtain call.
Good night.
Curtain call brought to you by our friends at Perkins McKenzie. What you got?
Curtain call. Have you seen the new Hard Knocks?
Oh, I was going to go there too.
Same thing?
Yeah, we were right there.
Yeah.
Bill Burrow?
Yeah.
I saw the clip. I didn't watch the actual episode.
Yeah. Well, I can't play the clip because HBO. But
Yeah.
Burrow purchased the $3 million Batmobile. I think only 12 are in rotation.
Listen to me. If I was as rich as him, that's something I would want to do. No doubt,
He said
dude.
it's going to be a year until I get it.
Dude, he sounded so sad.
And
He's
then,
like,
and
damn.
then he's gonna go buy a full-on Batman suit.
Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, I feel like if I play well, he goes, if I throw for 3 tuds and
wearing that every day.
500,
He said
like I'm wearing it
seven.
every
He
game.
said
Seven, yeah. And he's like, T. Higgins was over there. He goes, I wear that bitch in the club.
And then guess what? I'm coming back next weekend again.
But it did make me a little sad because of the relationships he has, like with like Jamar and T. Higgins. Like they're a good group, and the way that the season's gone is like, damn, they all are like the chemistry's there. Like that's their guy. Like he loves
Defense
everybody.
stinks.
Defense is terrible.
Defense stinks. I'm gonna watch. I forgot it came on, so I'll start including.
How
some
cool is your man in Pittsburgh?
Bro.
Mike Tomlin is
He's the best.
shit.
He's the best. So the
No,
reason
he's
why he
the
wins.
absolute. He's awesome, man.
That's why he wins.
He's awesome.
So that's your current call too.
Yeah, it was literally like NFL films, HBO,
Yeah.
Hard Knocks.
another one.
All right. I'm gonna watch
Didn't
that.
miss another one.
I guess they'll do this one again. I mean, I know that
they-
Tomlin doesn't like it, but it's not that telling of what they're trying to
Yeah,
do.
well, I actually thought because I think I may have watched some of the Arizona Cardinals last year during the season. I didn't watch a ton of it, which is one of the first ones I didn't watch. But people said it ended up being really good. I just didn't lock
The
into it.
Dolphins one last year was really good.
Oh, it was the Dolphins one.
Yeah,
last
yeah,
year.
I watched
Cardinals,
that
I didn't.
The
I didn't watch
Cardinals,
a ton
nobody
of-
touched.
I think it was because of the Cardinals and the lack of like personality
Yeah.
that was on that turned me off of the Dolphins one for whatever
Now,
reason.
the Dolphins was good.
So my reason for saying that is like I just didn't really lock in, and I thought that this was going to be from the start of the season up until this point.
Me
And really,
too.
they started I think at week 13 maybe, but having 4 teams and honestly, that division outside of like the Browns for the longest of times has been so damn good. You couldn't get access to them
Right.
with how Hard Knocks does their stuff. So to be able to see what they do and see some of the inside those buildings, it's been
Right.
it was a good episode, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch it tonight.
And they struck gold with the next couple of series because Jameis is a starter now.
Yeah.
And he went over and they played that game in the snow. That was the one that they covered where Jameis came in and won. And he's like, oh, he sees the like the field staff the next day. He's like, I forgot to thank y'all. And he thanks every single one. He's like, y'all did a hell of a job in the snow, man. Marking up the lines, perfect.
Yeah,
And it's like,
dude,
dude,
he's the
everybody loves him.
He's the best. My current call: SEC
Media day.
basketball.
Oh.
SEC is a basketball conference as well. SEC, ACC have a challenge, and they had 10 games yesterday in the slate. SEC went 9-1 against ACC. They obviously have some games tonight. Alabama's playing North Carolina tonight or right now, and they're winning as of now. But the SEC is flexing their muscles on the basketball court. SEC is an everything conference now, and it's best baseball conference, best football conference, and best basketball conference. It's conference to be. So
Just means more.
just means more. All right, that's all we got for you today. We'll be back live in studio next Monday.
From
6 to
70
8 p.m.
days until baseball.
70 days till baseball. We're going to talk a lot of baseball next week for sure. Wanted to talk it this today, but obviously, with everything going on signing day today, we figured this would probably be one of those. Let's have a conversation on football first. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Thursday night football tomorrow. Enjoy the championship weekends this weekend.
Enjoy
Should
the
be
selection
entertaining.
show too, because I'm
Yep.
sure it'll be an absolute zoo on Sunday.
But we'll be back live on Monday. We appreciate y'all. Enjoy your weekend. We love y'all. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you can't watch us. You like listening to us anywhere you get your pods. Appreciate the support. Enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.